Good morning, dear students. Welcome to this science class. Today, we begin a new lesson, Chapter 6 Tissues. In this chapter, you will learn about animal tissues and plant tissues. We know all living organisms are made up of cells. In unicellular organisms, a single cell performs all basic functions. For example, in the case of amoeba, a single cell carries out movements, intake of food and respiratory gases, respiration and excretion. In unicellular organisms, a single cell carries out movement, intake of food and respiratory gases, respiration and excretion. Here you can see the diagram of amoeba. But in multicellular organisms, there are millions of cells. These are the multicellular organisms. So they have got millions of cells, and most of these cells are specialized to carry out a few functions. Each specialized function is taken up by a different group of cells. Since these cells carry out only a particular function, they do it very efficiently. In human beings, muscle cells contract and relax to cause movement. Another type of cells called nerve cells, they carry messages. Blood flows to transport oxygen, food, hormones, and waste materials, and so on. So each specialized function is taken up by different group of cells in multicellular organisms. So since these cells carry out only a particular function, they do it very efficiently. In plants, vascular tissues conduct food and water from one part of the plant to other part of the plant. So in plants, vascular tissues conduct food and water from one part of the plant to the other parts. So multicellular organisms show division of labor. Cells specializing in one function are often grouped together in the body. The cells performing or specializing in one function are often grouped together in the body. This means that a particular function is carried out by a cluster of cells at a definite place in the body. This cluster of cells, called a tissue, is arranged and designed so as to give the highest possible efficiency of function. Blood, phloem, and muscles are examples of tissues. A group of cells that are similar in structure and work together to achieve a particular function forms a tissue. So, a group of cells that are similar in structure and they work together to achieve a particular function forms a tissue. Are plants and animals made up of same type of tissues? Let us see. There are noticeable differences between plants and animals. We know plants are stationary or fixed, they don't move. Most of the tissues they have are supportive, which provides them with structural strength. And most of these tissues are dead, and since dead cells can provide mechanical strength as easily as live ones and need less maintenance. Animals, on the other hand, move around in search of food. That means they are not stationary. So they move around in search of food, in search of mates and shelter. They consume more energy as compared to plants, or they need more energy than that of plants. And most of the tissues they contain are living tissues. Another difference between animals and plants is in the pattern of growth. The growth in plants is limited to certain regions, while this is not in animals. There are some tissues in plants that divide throughout their life. These tissues are localized in certain regions. So, based on the dividing capacity of the tissues, various plant tissues can be classified as growing or meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. So, are we can classify tissues as growing or meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. Cell growth in animals is more uniform. So there is no such demarcation of dividing and non-dividing regions in animals. The structural organization of organs and organ system is far more specialized and localized in complex animals than even in very complex plants. So this fundamental difference reflects the different modes of life pursued by these two major groups of organisms, particularly in their different feeding methods. Also, they are differently adapted for sedentary existence on the one hand and active locomotion on the other hand, contributing to this difference in organ system design. Let us see the plant tissues, the meristematic tissues. We know the growth of plants occurs only in certain specific regions. This is because the dividing tissues, also known as meristematic tissue, is located only at these points. So the dividing tissue is located only at these particular points. So depending on the region where they are present, meristematic tissues are classified as apical meristem, lateral meristem, and intercalary meristem. You can see the diagram: apical meristem, intercalary meristem, lateral meristem. New cells produced by meristem are initially like those of meristem itself, but as they grow and mature, their characteristics slowly change and they become differentiated as components of other tissues. So, apical meristem. The apical meristem is present at the growing tips of stems and roots and increases the length of the stem and the root. So, the apical meristem is present at the growing tips of stems and roots and increases the length of the stem and the root. The girth of the stem or root increases due to lateral meristem. You can see the lateral meristem. So, the girth of the stem or root increases due to the lateral meristem. Then we have got intercalary meristem. Intercalary meristem is the meristem at the base of the leaves or indent nodes on either side of the node or twigs. You can see. Intercalary meristem is the meristem at the base of the leaves or indent nodes on twigs. So as the cells of this tissue are very active, they have dense cytoplasm, thin cellulose walls, and prominent nuclei. And the meristematic cells or meristematic tissue like vacuoles. My dear students, this is all for today's class. Hope you all have understood it.